All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Janice Onitson. I'm the Director of Academic Initiatives at the Minnesota State IT Center of Excellence. Today we have Mary Liebens from Metropolitan State University, who's going to be discussing for our academic webinar the Oracle Retail Partnership that she is working on through Oracle and the Metropolitan State MIS program. We look forward to hearing any feedback and comments, and I'll get any kind of questions and answers back to Mary, and we'll go from there. So without further ado, Mary Liebens.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today, I'm going to be talking about a partnership that we've established between the Management Information Systems program at Metropolitan State University, Oracle Retail, and Logic Information Systems, which is a retail consulting company here in the Twin Cities area. At Metro State, I'm a new assistant professor, but I've been in education, teaching in higher ed for over 10 years, previously with Anoka Technical College. And my main area of focus is teaching application development, data analytics, and database development. So let's get into our partnership. First, I'm going to just tell you the story of how we established this partnership and how we thought of this idea and how it formed. So our humble beginnings were at a place called RETEC. RETEC was an organization here in Minneapolis in downtown. I used to work there as a software engineer, and there happens to be two other folks who work in the MIS department at Metro State who also worked there with me at Oracle RETEC. One of them was Anil Rao, who works as a community faculty member in MIS, and now he's an Oracle retail consultant. And the other person is Obaid Zafar, who is now a director at Oracle. So we had these humble beginnings back in 2005. We worked together at RETEC. And what we worked on there was the point of sale software and store inventory management software. And this sounds like kind of boring, but it's actually really an exciting area of software development because it touches all of our lives. We had clients like Tesco and Sainsbury's, the two largest retailers of groceries in the UK. We had quite a few clients in Australia because RETEC was originally located in Australia and then they moved to Minneapolis. So we had Kohl's and Target of Australia. We had the beer store in Canada. And we also had a couple of Polish retailers and a few retailers in India. So we were truly serving a very international group of retailers at RETEC. And store inventory management is the product that we use to just keep track of things in the store. Assortment planning, figuring out where things are located. And one of the things that I worked on for store inventory management was figuring out wastage, which is counting bananas and other things that decompose. That sounds disgusting, but that go bad in the store essentially and have to be thrown away before they're sold. We also worked on point of sale system. Our point of sale system was actually based on a product that was developed in a trailer home in Texas. I'm not joking. There was a small team of guys that bought a farmhouse and then they had like a trailer sitting outside of it. That's where they headquartered their company. And they developed a point of sale system for Men's Warehouse. And RETEC went and bought that. And we brought some of those folks on board. And John Gray, who was the head of that company, is still there at retail at RETEC, now Oracle Retail. So Oracle got into a bidding war with SAP and bought us out. And that's how we moved from being RETEC to being Oracle Retail. So then the second piece of this, we had two community faculty members, myself, one resident faculty member, who were interested in beefing up the Oracle Retail presence in our program because we knew we could place students at Oracle in downtown Minneapolis. Well, another faculty member on the MIS staff, Dr. David Bond, was familiar with Logic Consulting. And I happen to have another previous RETEC pal who works there as well. And so we contacted Logic, and their CEO was so wonderful. He agreed to partner with us on this project as well. And what Logic does is retail systems consulting. So they support Oracle retail and other types of retail systems. And then the third big piece here was connecting the software principles with these brands. Now, we're interested in serving students by providing them some real hands-on work with Oracle retail software. We also have SAP retail software in our curriculum, but we want to make sure that students are not just receiving like a training course in a particular type of software that's then going to go away in a couple of years, right? We want to make sure, because this is part of their bachelor's degree program, that they're also learning principles that will be useful well into the future, that will be useful across many years of their career. So a critical thing that we've done with our retail information systems class is make sure that it's got software principles that apply to all kinds of retail software. So learning about how to manage the inventory, how to manage SKUs, the item hierarchy within the store, understanding assortment planning, retail pricing, how the point of sale system works, including how does a credit card reader work, how does the light pole on the register display the items as the cashier is scanning them at the register. All of those principles of the retail software were really critical to us because we want students to take that away and be able to apply it wherever they work at any company. But we also wanted to identify some solid brands to give them the opportunity to earn certification. We already have SAP certification as part of our curriculum in MIS. We currently have a partnership with the SAP University Alliance. So students who take 3 SAP related courses within the MIS bachelor's program automatically earn an SAP University Alliance certification. Now, we wanted to make sure we kept with the same principle. We know SAP is a great brand, a solid brand to partner with because they've been around for decades and they will be around presumably into the future. Oracle is similar. They are the second biggest software company in the world after Microsoft. We know that their systems are embedded in many, many retailers, and the Oracle database system is also extremely popular, has been, again, for many decades, and probably will be long into the future. So these are solid brands, not just a little niche brand that's going to go away in a year or two. So another thing that we were looking at is how do we expand certification options for post-traditional students? And Oracle offers quite a few certifications, which I'll get into more in the next slide, that students can earn. We have what we call a post-traditional group of students at Metropolitan State University. Majority of our students are over 30 years old. Close to half of them are parents, and many of them have already worked for quite a few years. So one of the things that we want to see happen for them is the opportunity to tie a certification that gives them an extra boost on their resume along with their degree program. And then finally, we're looking at how do we open the door to new career possibilities for our MIS students. So frequently, folks are coming into MIS, they have an idea that they want to work in IT, but there are many different facets of IT. So one thing that we're trying to do with our program is make sure that students are exposed to different areas of IT like supply chain, enterprise resource planning, HR, and of course, retail systems, so that they can choose when they're graduating an area that they want to focus on for their career and really narrow down their job search so that they're looking at companies that have one of those types of systems on which they would want to work, and then they're kind of marketing themselves towards those types of companies. So why add industry certifications? I know it seems kind of strange, like we're a university program, we're looking at upper division classes. Generally, when we think of the university, we think of students just reading books and writing papers, right? And instead, we wanted to do something that really gives students a hands-on leg up in their job search. As I mentioned, our students are post-traditional. we know that workplace skills can add up to 20% to a college graduate's earnings. Our post-traditional students are not only already working, most of them full-time, they want to boost their career. And so we know this will give them that extra oomph to boost their career. Industry certifications are also valuable to employers and keep the university curriculum up to date. It forces us to move forward because we have a partnership with Oracle in updating our curriculum and making sure that it's relevant to what's currently being used in industry. And certifications benefit post-traditional students because they more often take a break from schooling than younger traditional age students. So for example, a post-traditional student may be moving, they might be changing jobs, they might be welcoming a new baby into the family. And so they may take off a semester or 2 semesters for those life events. Well, the certification goes onto their resume right away. So if they need to find a job during that period, or they're, looking to get a promotion at work or move into a different position at work, they can use that certification right away instead of waiting until graduation. And if something happens and that student's unable to return to school for a long extended period of time, at least they get the certification out of their degree program. So they're at least exiting with some bonus to their resume. So what does this partnership offer our stakeholders? Well, for students, Oracle's been very generous with us. They've offered us discounted exam vouchers, and we also received a grant for this partnership. So we are able to not only get a discount, but then cover the remaining piece of the exam voucher cost for our students. In addition, they receive 50% off Oracle books, and the Oracle Press books are pretty reasonably priced to begin with. In addition, they get free, this is really nice, free tickets to the Oracle One conference. So Oracle One is now combined with the Java One conference. So students who attend this conference can learn about careers both in programming and in database development and database administration, as well as administering all of the different types of software that Oracle has to offer, like retail software, enterprise resource planning, supply chain, et cetera. So Oracle One Conference, it's an amazing opportunity for students. I think certain, maybe just a single registration is over $1,000 typically. So this is a wonderful benefit. We were thinking about having, originally I was very optimistic, having a group of students come with one of our resident faculty members to Las Vegas to attend Oracle One 2021. And unfortunately, we won't be able to do that probably. It looks like at this point, due to COVID-19, Oracle One will probably be online again in 2021. But that actually may be a benefit because we might be able to have a much larger group of students attend that conference. Of course, the certification opportunities, we've already discussed those. There's study materials that are available for free, as well as those discounted exam vouchers. And then the last thing that we're putting together as part of this partnership is a skills contest that we're going to hold in April or May timeframe in the spring of 2021. Initially, that was going to be also a face-to-face event for students with some pizza and other fun activities. It looks like now it's going to be an online event. So we're working on how do we shape it so that students can participate and still get some swag. And we're looking at how can we mail out some Oracle books and t-shirts and things like that for our participants. So the skills contest will focus on students either designing and developing a database or doing some SQL structured query language queries on the fly. So that's our first group of stakeholders, the students. Our second group is the professors or faculty at Metropolitan State University. So for us, it provides us with IT curriculum. Oracle generously gives us curriculum that is across the IT spectrum, everything from operating systems, Linux curriculum, Java programming, low and no code programming environments like Alice and Greenfoot, and of course, a whole host of database opportunities with both the Oracle database and MySQL database, which is the open source database platform that Oracle acquired as part of the Sun Microsystems acquisition in 2009. This also gives us access to industry experts for workshopping. So one of the things that our partners at Logic Retail Consulting have offered us is looking through our curriculum during a workshop event and then giving us expert advice on it. So we really appreciate that, to have another set of eyes on it from folks that are placing consultants every day in professional positions in IT. And then finally, we're getting job market advice from employers, from folks at Oracle Retail and at Logic about what they want to see in our students at an entry level. And we also have students who are coming in with some experience because they, prior to joining Metro State, had earned an associate's degree at another Minnesota State college and are currently working in IT. So we are placing both entry-level folks and some mid-range folks as well. And then employers. So what's in it for the employers that we are partnering with? So they're receiving qualified graduates for entry-level positions. This lets us tailor the skill set a little bit more for our students so that those Oracle Retail and Logic Systems consulting opportunities really fit well with our students. And of course, the glow of giving back. One of the things that our partners had really stressed with us was that they were excited and happy to be working with students and working with the Minnesota State system, that it was an important part of being a great community citizen in IT. So let's go on to our next slide here. And I'll show you the timeline for our partnership project. So right now it's fall 2020. We're redeveloping the curriculum for two of our classes, our database systems course, which uses MySQL, so that students can earn a MySQL certification at the end of that course. And we're also beefing up the Oracle Retail presence in our retail system software. In addition, we're providing instructor training currently so that all of our MIS instructors can get familiar with the Oracle curriculum and using it in their classroom. And then in spring 2021, we're going to be rolling out new curriculum in two of our courses, the database application or systems development, and then also in our Oracle/SAP retail systems course. And then we're going to be holding our tech skills competition online and crowning some student winners. And then in summer 2021, our students will be attending the Oracle One conference. And hopefully that conference will help to orient them towards some different career possibilities with Oracle, and more broadly, give them a larger background in the different types of technologies that Oracle supports, like Java programming, Linux, MySQL, Oracle database, and a host of system software like PeopleSoft, NetSuite, and JD Edwards. So I'm going to give you guys a quick tour of the D2L training that I put together on the Oracle Academy partnership site. But before I do that, I'm going to pause and see if we have any questions from our participants. I see we've got Justin and Christy. Hello, guys. Do you have any questions for me? Okay, Justin says no. So I'm going to go ahead then and I'll open up that D2L training. And if you think of a question, you can stop me.
Mary, this is Janice. I just have a question of how many students do you have interested in this? Are they coming from the industry saying, wow, this is something really that they want to get into? Or are you still having to market it pretty well to incoming MIS students?
As far as Oracle, we just started at the end of August, so we haven't had an enrollment cycle yet with Oracle certifications in our curriculum, but I can speak about SAP. We've had a handful of people that already have a bachelor's degree who have come to take our SAP related courses just so they can earn the SAP certification. So we are seeing some interest. I think that we'd like to do more marketing on both of the certification paths. And that's a little bit challenging because we aren't allowed to update our school website. So one of our projects for the spring is working with marketing to find out how we can get that message out to our students.
And I'm even wondering, just doing career pathways, and I know that's something that we do from, the Minnesota State IT Center of Excellence. So this may be one area that we'd be able to, look for a faculty project to do a career pathways into this kind of a program. So interesting, thanks.
Definitely.
Christy does have a question here.
Yeah, I see Christy said, how much IT background would someone need to do this? Would getting this certification help if you don't already work in IT? I would say if you don't already have an associate's degree or you're planning on working towards a bachelor's degree, that the certification alone would not give you the skills that you need to work in IT. I've been participating in some work with industry employers through Minnesota cybersecurity program. And I also participated in a CIO forum last year where we brought in a lot of CIOs to Metro State to give us advice on what they wanted to see in our graduates. And all of those industry experts have said that they need at least an associate's degree for IT employees. And some of them, like Medtronic, said that they will only consider folks with a bachelor's degree. So that's something to consider. These are more of a high-level certification. For people that are wanting to get into IT without earning a degree or they have no IT experience, I'd recommend something that's at a lower level. Cisco offers an IT fundamentals certificate, and I actually am a certified instructor for that program as well. And it teaches you the basics so that you could get into maybe an IT support or a lower level position and then work your way up. So I hope that helps to answer your question, Christy. And I'm going to switch my sharing over to D2L right now. Do you guys see our D2L course shell on your screen?
Yes, yep, it's showing up.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure because in Zoom, it's so easy to leave it. I see Justin said yes. It's so easy to leave it on the other screen and start going without knowing it. So we have a site that's just for MIS faculty at Metro State University called MIS Faculty Exchange. It's just one of our D2L shells. And how we decided to train in faculty was to put our content for the Oracle certification partnership inside of our D2L shell. And I created a module called Oracle Partnership Information. I'm actually going to look at this in the student view because it'll be a little bit cleaner for you to see. This is just a module that's similar to what you might create for one of your classes. And what it does is show you step by step how to engage with all of our different benefits from our Oracle partnership. So the first step is logging into the Oracle Academy. Now this is a website, if you establish a partnership between your school and Oracle, they give you access to the Oracle Academy website. And that provides you a starting point for accessing all of those free resources that I talked about earlier. So you sign up for an Oracle account and then you can sign in to that academy. I see we have Christy said good. She can see the site, excellent. So that's the first step for faculty is logging into Oracle Academy. And then I put out additional information on how they can get their hands on the discounted exam vouchers and books. And then using the Oracle curriculum. And here I'd like to show you a snapshot that I have of all of the different things that are available. If you are at another higher ed institution and you would like to establish a partnership with Oracle, if you are a nonprofit educational institution, this is absolutely free. It kind of blew my mind. Usually Oracle doesn't give anything away for free. And I can say that being, a former employee. When I talked to my friend Obaid Zafar, who's a director at Oracle, he said, it's $500 a year for a partnership. And then I called some different folks at Oracle. I got a hold of someone that could help me. And she said, oh, you're in an educational institution? For you, it's actually free for your entire school. So that was pretty amazing. We get access to Oracle's learning management system. They have their own LMS in the Oracle Academy. So if you're working in higher ed and you want your students to just work with this curriculum directly, they can do that. They can log in, and you as the instructor can set up a class for them and look at their progress just as you would with D2L or Blackboard. And so I think this is a fantastic resource for us to have for free. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so you can see some of the different types of curriculum that is available from the Oracle Academy. I forgot to mention the data science earlier. They have free courses in their curriculum on big data, data analytics, artificial intelligence, which I think are very hot topics right now. It's an area of focus for us in our MIS department. And it is something we've heard from employers that they need graduates to have more skills in. And then of course, database, that's what Oracle is famous for. Java and Linux. And of course, Oracle Cloud Services. If you don't currently have a cloud platform that you're teaching students on, like AWS or Google, Oracle also has their own cloud platform. And with the Oracle partnership, you get, I think it's $300 of free cloud credits to use with your students every year. So if that's something you want to teach in your courses, it's also available as part of the Oracle Academy. And so that's the Oracle curriculum. And then I also added a module on how to download software and get it set up, and then a FAQ on the Oracle resources. So that's the training that I put together for the other MIS faculty. They're currently going through this training and they're updating their curriculum. And then in the spring, we'll be rolling this out. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. And I'll pause here to see if you have any questions about Oracle Academy's site and the curriculum that's available there.
So can you write in the chat room, Mary, the link to the Oracle free training, please?
Yes.
Thanks.
I'm going to just copy and paste it. Now, if you are at a higher educational institution, you can get free access to this. You do have to sign up and go through an application process. And you might have to have the legal department at your school review the non-disclosure agreement that Oracle provides, because they do have like a lengthy contract you have to sign to make sure you are not misusing the software or reselling it or things like that. But in general, it's quite open. Your students can download software and install it on their personal laptops as long as they sign a contract saying that they are going to be using it for work. And you can deploy it in your school's computer labs or in a virtual desktop environment. Like we're using a virtual lab now for our computer labs because of COVID-19. So you could install the Oracle Academy software in your virtual lab and have your students access it that way as well. Or you can use the Oracle Cloud and have your students access software through the Oracle Cloud. So I put the link to Oracle Academy in the chat there. It's just at academy.oracle.com.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so now we're at the discussion piece. I know we have a small group today, but we'll give it a shot anyway. I think you guys can talk. So Let's talk about industry certifications. I put together a few discussion prompts for us to talk about today. What are your thoughts on adding industry certifications to programs? Have you tried this or are thinking about it in your department? And if you have any success stories or any lessons learned. And you can put things in the chat, or if you want to unmute. Janice, do people have the ability to unmute?
Yeah, they have a,
Okay.
I will say from the Minnesota State Center of IT, the Center of Excellence here, what we're looking at is actually seeing, it's going to be, certifications are kind of the up and coming thing. And especially in the IT world, to be able to sit for a certification after you've taken X amount of courses. So let me start my video here. So one of the things that we have been looking at is, let's say for if a community college has 3 or 4 fundamentals of networking fundamentals or network security courses, how do they come together to actually be able to allow students to sit for a certification? And if they already have that certification, how does that translate back into the college setting? So there's a lot of activity right now, especially at the 2-year and the 4-year colleges, probably, I don't know, in the MIS program, of students saying, I already have these certifications because they're getting them in high school or they're getting them on their own. What does that do for me? And how does that translate into academic credits? So it's a really interesting process that we're going to be going through.
From a quick perspective, if a student already has a certification and there's a course that's mapping to it or is quite similar, they could take the, at least at Metro State, I can't speak for every Minnesota State institution, they can take an exam for a small fee.
Yeah.
And then just test out of that course and receive all of the credits. So I've had quite a few students do that. When I worked at Anoka Technical College, because I worked with a lot of people that were career changers.
Yeah.
So they might already have significant experience and have some certificates, but not a degree in IT. And so they would just make an appointment to sit for that exam, either at the testing center or with a faculty member like myself.
Yeah.
I think it was $70 was our fee. It was really cheap compared to paying for 4 credits. And that would allow you to then receive those 4 credits on your transcript. Nice.
Justin, do you have any examples of this? I know Christy is more on the marketing side, but do you have any examples or thoughts?
I don't, I teach at the 2-year level, so I don't really have a whole lot. I'm assuming this is more towards that 4-year degree person. I teach a couple of Visual Basic class, and then most of my other, like a Java classes, are independent studies. I don't have enough students to have full classes, so but I did see on there was the Java and that on there. So it is something that my administration is wanting me to check into, and that's why I wanted to get on this today. Like I said, we don't have a lot of students in that area, and this might be some way to get more students. But so it's kind of like chicken and egg, if we have these things, you gotta, as Mary was talking about, being able to market it, but also we're going to have enough students to make it worth the time for me to do it.
Right.
That's kind of chicken and egg. So lots of good information. I like this. Like I said, I just got to figure out how I can get the students to be interested in doing it.
And Paul's your dean down there?
Yes.
Yeah, I know he's been harping on us too about the IT. And when we were down there talking with everybody, it's just something that it's going to come along. So it's great to have Mary just to kind of lead a conversation around it, because I think this kind of presentation can be used then as feedback to Paul or other administrators to say, this is really something that we can do and it's being done. So great to have you here, Justin.
Yes, so thank you. So this can be one of the things hopefully I can get a recording of this, Janice, and be able to send it to them and say, hey, I'm trying. Because like I said, it's not for lack of effort. It's just trying to figure out what the right path is to doing it. So
yeah, great. We'll make sure you get that.
Thank you.
But I have had most of my experience actually at the 2-year level. So I feel like these certifications fit in maybe even better in a technical college or community college setting. For me, we had some certifications in my previous program at Anoka Technical College, and students were really gravitating towards them. So when I moved into teaching in higher ed at the 4-year level, I thought we should bring these forward and really make it a part of our program. It was one of the things I talked about during my interviewing process, because I think it's important for students to connect with their learning with their resume and their career path. And that's really what students want when they're post-traditional students and they're career changers and they have some experience already, or they already have been working for a while. I'm going to speak about the success stories and lessons learned. I've also taught, I was in AmeriCorps for 2 years as an IT instructor for AmeriCorps, working with students who are ELL students. They were all refugees and immigrants. And so they were at a kind of intermediate to intermediate advanced level of English. And I taught CompTIA IT fundamentals for them. And what I learned was that the exam wording in the exams is really challenging sometimes for students who are ELL students. And it echoed my experience at Anoka Tech too, where I found sometimes students came in, they've been out of high school for a very long time, so they don't have a real strong reading background, or they may not have strong reading comprehension due to some kind of learning disability. And that was a fairly significant percentage of my students. So for those students, they will need extra time really to prepare for the exam, and more materials, more chances to drill on the questions, more exposure to similar types of questions so that they can get familiar enough that when they see them on the exam, they can recognize it and understand how to answer the questions that are on the exam. So that was something, a lesson learned for me, is that you really need to give students an opportunity to practice. And you might want to, instead of saying, hey, the exam is your final exam in this course, instead make it a part of your course that is optional. Maybe the practice exam is the final exam, and then students have the opportunity to keep working on those materials and keep doing the retakes until they actually pass. Because the certification exams from pretty much everywhere that I've looked at, like Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, and CompTIA, are pretty lengthy, and they just take a lot of drilling and prep time for students. So we did try a long time ago, before Brown College closed. I worked there as a department chair in IT, and we tried embedding the Cisco certifications in our curriculum and making a Cisco certificate like the end exam for some of those administration, like our wide area network and local area network administration courses. And that just did not work out well, because students, it was only like a 10-week class. It wasn't enough time for them to really prep and drill for the certificate and do all the requirements for the class. So you need to make sure that students have the opportunity to have enough prep time. Maybe you put that certification at the end of the program or after the first year, something like that. It can't just be in one class generally. Okay, any other questions or thoughts?
No, good stuff, Mary. Thank you for the information.
Good, that's good to hear. So last piece, I had some questions and answers. We have a really small group, so I feel like you guys have asked the questions you needed to ask. I included some references in this slide deck, and perhaps we could distribute the slide deck as well through ITCOE, because you might be interested in some of the research that I have here about using certifications for post-traditional students and students that are in higher education. So,
Excellent, thanks. I will definitely do that, Mary.
As a teacher, I always have to give people homework. Okay,
This
so I think we
yeah,
might be done a little bit
this is
early, but
wonderful. Like I said, this really does tie well to a lot of the things that we're looking to do. And it is nice to hear Justin from, he's from Midwest, to be able to talk about what they're doing down there because we're all kind of hurting for students right now. And this is one way to really kind of energize the area around you and be able to market something new besides just coming to class and to have something big like Oracle or some of the companies, SaaS coming on or whatever, really does help us make a name for ourselves. So it's great work on this, Mary. I know it took a lot of time and effort, but the results are wonderful.
yeah, I think it's an exciting opportunity if you can partner and offer certification. Yeah, getting enrollment numbers is really tough. Like at Anoka Technical College, we could place way more students than we had enrolling. And we were trying to tap every avenue that we could. We're partnering with the Workforce Center so that we'd get people that were on a Workforce Center grant and were dislocated workers. We were going to high schools. We were going for PSEO students. And I don't know why, but it's hard to get students excited and interested in IT, which it seems to me counterintuitive because everyone is excited about using their phone, using their tablet, playing video games, but getting people into it's really tough. And I don't know what our enrollment answer is there. I wish we could somehow make it more attractive to students because once they get into the classes and they start to do something like data analysis or they build their first app, then they're very, very much hooked on it. I mean,
Right.
After that first semester, there is very good retention. There aren't many people that decide, oh, this isn't for me, and they just leave. Most students enjoy it, stick with it, graduate, and get a great job. It's just hard to get them in the door initially.
Yeah. We'll all start working together, continue to go. So, all right, Justin, any last comments or thoughts?
No, thank you very much, Mary Janice. This was very good. So, like I said, if you can send that recording out, Janice, and then I would forward that on to Paul. And like I said, this is the first step. So hopefully we can get something going. It's just like I said, just getting all the information and kind of figuring out that path to, like I said, try and find those students. And like I said, they got to talk to the math instructors at the K-12 level, and try and find those good students before just have them experience it. Like you said, Mary, once they get it, they kind of like, all right, this is exciting, but trying to find those students maybe before they've kind of chosen their path. And that's been our biggest struggle here down in Southwest Minnesota, is trying to get into those classrooms and finding those good students that are interested in that stuff. So that's going to be the next step for us down here.
Wonderful.
One thing that we did at Anoka that helped us out was my dean organized a coding camp in the summertime. And it was actually like students would come and try out a bunch of technical careers. So they would do some work in the welding department. They would learn some CPR with the medical assistants, and then they would learn coding with me. And I think they also did some machining. And it would give them that opportunity to try out a career path. And I think that helped us a bit in getting those students through the door. It also helped us, overcome the perception. Sometimes parents of the traditional age students were like, well, I don't want my student to go to technical college. I want them to go to university. And they didn't realize that like technical and community colleges build into the university program here in Minnesota. So if you earn a technical degree, you can actually go and start working right away, like in a year or two. But then you can also take additional classes, like whether you're taking them online through Bemidji State, or you want to come in person to Metro State in the Twin Cities area. And we have a lot of online and face-to-face and hybrid options for students that want to build on that 2-year degree. So I think that's an important thing to communicate out to parents and students, that it isn't an either or, it's how do I want to build my own custom path? How do I want to make this relevant to the career that I'm choosing?
Yeah, great. All right. Well, thank you, Mary. I so much appreciate your work. I appreciate your presentation and your time that you've committed to not only the work that you're doing, but helping us with the academic webinar series as well. We look forward to further talking with you, and hopefully this will gain some traction and you can present even more and some fun stuff about what you're learning as you're going on. So once we start getting students through here and what they're saying, that could be the story to tell. So thank you very much. And with that, we'll
Thank you.
end it. Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks. Take care.